What is your response to hearing Minister Sajjan say we did everything we could when the complaint came forward on March 1st, 2018, which Gary Walbourne said gave explicit details to him that it was a sexual harassment complaint in nature?
Well, it just points to they did everything they could to cover it up. You know that there isn't a playbook here on a process you follow. Minister Sajjan pushed away the actual evidence that was presented to him by the former ombudsman, Gary Walbourne. He refused to act upon that, leaving the victim, unfortunately, left hanging and out to dry. And they left General Vance in this position for another 3 years, gave him a raise, and left him in charge of Operation Honor. And because of their inaction, we now have this fiasco of increasing sexual misconduct within the armed forces, as the numbers have proven over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
This is on Minister Sajjan and this government for not acting and for covering this up rather than taking responsibility and moving forward in addressing this 3 years ago. Not today, but they should have done this 3 years ago.
I should say, I know you said left the complainant out to dry. The complainant did not apparently want to come forward with details, but I'm throwing that out there because I don't know the nature of that.
But we do know that she went to the ombudsman, Gary Walbourne, and Mr.
Yes.
Walbourne at committee testified, and she has now come out publicly. What she wanted to do is make sure the minister was aware of the misconduct, so that it would weigh in his decision-making process about future decisions around General Vance, which, of course, he did in the affirmative rather than in the negative. And if there was a clear runway, that because, you know, if it was like Admiral MacDonald, where he stepped aside, or where the minister asked him to step aside for a full investigation, then she would have been more willing to come out publicly and hand over that evidence.
Okay, so Mr. Garrison, I know you've been listening in on both issues. Your thoughts, sir, on is this review necessary? And then you can also weigh in on the discussion I'm having with Mr. Bezan. But is a new review with Justice Arbour necessary, given the fact that Madame Deschamps, another former Supreme Court justice, made recommendations in 2015 that have not been fulfilled?
Well, I have the utmost respect for Madame Arbour, and I think she will provide useful advice to this government. It's clear they need it. I'm not sure how that advice will differ from what they already heard 6 years ago from Madame Deschamps. So what I think we need to do here is judge things by their results. And what we have here is a continuing problem of sexualized culture in the Canadian Armed Forces. The numbers are terrible. There's no other way to describe them, the number of incidents that have taken place. And we have a defense minister that keeps saying he did things when clearly he did not do things. And so he seems to be living in some kind of alternative reality here when it comes to how complaints are handled. His concern about not interfering in the investigation seems clearly designed to protect General Vance and not to advance the best interests of the complainant.
Just very quick, I know you got the dog, we've got a few line issues there, but Mr. Garrison, just to give you a second shot at this, when the defense minister just was on this program, I know he said this to committee, I could not politically interfere, that was not my job. I guess my question is, who then holds the chief of the defense staff accountable if the minister or the prime minister doesn't?
Well, clearly it was his job to hold him accountable, and clearly this is a case where he could have acted. He could have made a recommendation to the Prime Minister, given the nature of the allegations against General Vance, to say thank you very much to General Vance at this time and appoint a new Chief of Defence Staff. And there was a very capable woman, General Whitecross, who should have been appointed Chief of Defence Staff at that point. He didn't take that action. He didn't ask anyone to do an investigation after the Privy Council office told him they weren't doing one. He took no action at that point. His excuse now is that he told the Prime Minister's office. Well, when he found out the Prime Minister's office wasn't doing anything, he still took no action. So I judge the minister on the outcome and say there's nothing that's happened here where he showed responsibility for what was taking place in the Canadian military. And I don't know how we can trust him to implement any new reforms when he failed to act previously.
Mr. Bezan, Mr. Garrison. Go ahead, Mr. Bezan. I'll give you a quick last word.
Yeah, this decision today, this announcement is extremely disappointing. The victims of sexual misconduct in the Canadian Armed Forces, the women and men who put on the uniform, want results, not another report. There is no imagination here from the government to redo processes that took place already 6 years ago. There was a Deschamps report. They should have acted upon it, and they did not.